Good morning and welcome to the Lakeview High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This morning we gather here to pay tribute to the teams and individuals who have left an incredible mark on Cottonwood, Wood Lake, and the Lakeview school systems. The honor of being inducted to the Hall of Fame is not merely a recognition of talent, it's a celebration of perseverance, dedication, commitment, and excellence. Beyond the accolades and the trophies, all of you have embodied the values that define true greatness. You are the definition of integrity, of character, of sportsmanship, and leadership. To be inducted into the Hall of Fame is a recognition earned through years of sacrifice, countless hours of practice, and in the belief in the pursuit of excellence. As we celebrate this moment, let us also reflect on the influence you have had on the lives of those who have watched, learned, and aspired to follow in your footsteps. At this time, I would like to call up my co-MC, Mr. Tom Hinz, and at this time we'll honor the Lakeview Hall of Fame members of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. First of all, I'm honored and humbled to be up here today for this presentation. I want to shout out for three people. I want to, Matt, our athletic director, does a great job. Heidi has kept the program going, made all the tickets, did all the arrangements, and this guy to the left. I met this guy 10 years ago on the 50-yard line. He was a volunteer coach, came in 2016. We ended up going to the state tournament. He told me, if you ever need anything, I'm Scott Hanson. If you're the sports guy. If you need something, just get a hold of me. He's been a good friend. Lakeview High School is lucky to have that guy. There isn't a more upbeat guy that I've ever met in my whole life. The little kids, the big kids, everybody Scott takes time for. You don't find that these days in the world. Also, I want to thank, I've had the best golf partner for 35 years, Mr. Bowl. Thank you very much. Then I want to thank two of my best classmates. They both came over from the parochial and the Posen school. People probably thought, wow, they thought they were better than us, but they never were. Thank you, Craig and Jarvis, two of the great athletes, great guys from the class of 1969. Now 4 years ago, I got to talk about the greatest athlete on a consistent basis that I ever saw. Charlie Munt, sitting right down there. 4 years later, I get to talk about my greatest thrill in high school sports, the 1966 Wood Lake Warrior District 9 Basketball Championship. They had a good season the year before. They came up short in the District 9 Championship game down in Tracy, 46-39. I still can't figure out why anybody would ever have a championship tournament game on their home court, but things were different, I suppose, back then. 1966, 3 or 4 starters back, a couple other lettermen. We had a super sophomore that transferred from Echo when he was a 7th grader. I know he's sitting out there someplace, Mr. Johnson. Also, there was a changing of the guard. Longtime Hall of Fame coach Perry Doney had decided to quit coaching basketball. They brought in a young coach out of Mankato State, first-year guy, disciplinarian, took no you-know-what from anybody. So most people figured they had a pretty good season. They had some good kids back. Started out 4-2, lost a heartbreaker to Clarkfield by 1 point, and then right before Christmas, they played down at Ballatin, lost by 15 points. Come after Christmas, the boys got hot. They ran off 12 games in a row, scored 110 points against Hanley Falls, scored 109 points against Echo. Charlie went over 1,000 points, ended up with a very good season, 16-2. But that wasn't good enough. They were seeded 5th in the district, 17 teams. You seeded 5. The other 12 would play for the 3 sub-district championships. I still can't figure out why would you have a number 5 seed play the number 1 seed Tracy. As long as I've been trying to figure that out, usually have a 4 and 5 play. But that didn't matter to the boys. Started out, they were supposed to play on a Saturday night. They got snowed out. You know, everybody knows where they played. They played right up the street up here in Cottonwood. They held a lot of tournament games. Knocked off the number 1 seed 55-45. Fischer had 18 points. Munch had 15 to lead the scoring. The reward for that was the next night you had to go play the number 3 seed Marshall down at Tracy. I'm sure nobody in this audience or anybody, if it was still around, was going to let Marshall beat Woodlake 2 years in a row. They were down by 8 points going into the last quarter, outscored Marshall 20-10, ended up winning 63-61. Johnson with 19, Munch with 18, Terry Tim with 12, Fischer with 9, and Bly with 5. The next game, I remember going back in them days, they had a fan bus. You'd pay your quarter, you get to ride the bus. And sometimes the fan bus would be filled come tournament time, and they'd always put me on the players' bus. I got to sit by Charlie Munch on the way down, and I asked Charlie, will you guys be tired after playing last night? And he said to me, we can't be tired. If we're ever going to get the chance to get to Saturday night, we got to come out and win this game. Ballatin stood in the way, undefeated, had a 6'10" center that wasn't just out there to be out there. This guy was a legitimate ball player. Didn't start out very good, down 11-6 at the first quarter. You probably aren't thinking you're going to win any games when you're down by 5, only scored 6 points in a quarter. Halftime, 30-24. Back then they had 48-minute quarters. Going into the third quarter, down by 9 points. And then probably the Woodlake miracle. They outscored Ballatin 24-13 in the last quarter and pulled out a 61-59 victory. I don't know if they stormed the court or anything like that. I can't remember. But all I remember, with about 3 or 4 seconds, Charlie Fischer sitting right there, took a fake to the right, went back on Big Carl, put up a jump shot, nothing but net, and that was history right there. After coming so close to Woodlake, had finally won a district. Get back to town, fire trucks are out, police cars are going up and down the street, people are waving, honking their horns. It was something I'll never forget. They lost in the region semifinals the following year, or following week, down at St. Peter by 60-56. Hutchinson ended up winning, taking third place in the 8-man state tournament. For every happy story, there's a sad story. Exactly 1 month ago, I got a text that the heart and soul of that team had passed away, the Captain Bruce Semple. I've been around sports people for 60-some years. There wasn't a better guy in this world. He was humble, he was kind, he was gentle. He had the winning attitude. He went on to play college football. He was a football. He loved football. He went on to play 4 years of college football. He had also been All-State his senior year in football. And they were runner-ups in the NAIA National Championship in 1969. I had the pleasure of meeting Bruce 2 years ago. Somebody tipped me off there was a class reunion from this class of 66 in Woodlake Fair. So I figured I better get over there. I hadn't seen that guy in many, many years. I stood outside the door. I asked somebody, is Bruce here? And they said, yeah. I go charging into the hall. 2 of Bruce's classmates say, what are you doing here? You're not in this class. I said, I'm going to talk to Bruce. I'll let you get out for a couple of minutes. I'll get out of here because I know you're going to have your meeting. I went over and gave Bruce a big hug, shook his hand. I asked him if he remembered me. He said, yeah, you are our biggest fan. Then I told him 2 years from now I'm going to do everything I can to get that District 9 championship team in the Hall of Fame at Lakeview. And I said, you were one of the best. We'll have a little get-together on the football field Friday night, have a brunch on Saturday. The last 4 words he ever said to me were, we were a team. Bruce would have celebrated his 77th birthday yesterday. I know he's looking down at us, wish he could be here. To have a man that was like that, you don't come across very often. He was a very special guy. Thank you. Terry Tim's going to come up and say a few words about the team, too.
Let's have the 1966 team come right up here and stand up here, too. We'd like to have you guys come up and stand. Congratulations to 1966 Woodlake boys basketball team.
Thank you. This is a nice honor. Thank you. We really appreciate it. I looked around the room when I came in, and I thought, oh, thank goodness Mike O'Reilly is here and Merle Fischer. The only 2 guys that I saw that would remember our team back then, other than Tom. So there's probably a couple others, but I know those 2 do it. And the other thing is, I don't know if we were the greatest football or greatest basketball team Woodlake ever had. We won the district and we were good. But I always heard the team that Merle Fischer played on in '58 was the best team that Woodlake ever had. They went through the season undefeated. Anyway, thank you very much. These guys up here, way on the left, my left, is Del Bresson. Here's Charlie Bulch. Well, Tom told you about Charlie and about his feats. We could talk a long time about that. Charlie Fischer, who was bragging because he can still wear his jacket. This is Jerome Bly and Dave Johnson, who is a sophomore, so we're really happy to have them here. And then I'll also mention Craig Zempel is sitting right here and Jarvis Munch. They were freshmen, but they, back in those days, we didn't have a lot of players. They were on the B team, and they practiced against us. We could beat up on those little guys. That's what that amounted to. And so, Tom asked me to say a few words, but he said, I'm only going to try to add a little to what he said because he covered everything so well. But he did give me an article from the Marshall Independent. It doesn't say it here, but I'm sure it was written by Dick Seal. And it starts out with the headline that says, "You can't beat them if they won't be licked." The Independent wants to take this opportunity to offer sincere congratulations to the Woodlake Warriors, who will represent District 9 in the Region 3 basketball tournament this weekend at St. Peter. The performance of the Warriors in winning their first district title may have been the guttiest display ever seen in the tournament. It would be hard to overpraise their courage and refusal to roll over and play dead. I'm getting kind of broken up here. We're not a group that got together and hashed this over very much. So I hadn't read this maybe for 60 years. All the Warriors ranked number 5 did to take home the title and the trophy was this. They beat Tracy, number 1 seed in the district, in their opening tourney game by a score of 55-45. Keep in mind there were no classes. We were all in the same class back then. And we thought of Tracy as being a big town back in those days. So, and they overcame a 10-point or 3 10-point deficits to beat Marshall 63-61 in the semifinal round, with the Tigers seeded number 3. And in the title game, they came back after being as many as 12 points down to stop number 2 ranked Gallatin in the famed Carl Johnson in a 61-59 Heartstopper. And like Tom said, Carl was a good player. I mean, he was, they say 6'9" here, we always said 6'10", but he was a good player. No one could have asked for more from a bunch of high school kids who went into the district tournament ranked no better than 5th in the district. The final few seconds in the title game was a good example of the kind of stuff the Warriors are made of. They led 59-57 with 16 seconds to go. Then 6'9" Carl Johnson, Gallatin's ace, netted one to tie the ball game. There are a lot of teams that might have faded right there, but not the Lakers. Now, it doesn't say that. I mean, we were actually ahead right then, but I know we were down by like 8 points with not too many minutes to go. So it was a comeback kind of similar to Marshall. They did not panic. They set up their play, and with 3 seconds left, they worked Charlie Fischer open under the basket, hit him with a sharp pass, and Charlie slipped in a reverse layup that was the ball game and the title. Now, Tom, you remember a lot more than I remember about things, but I do remember it was not a jump shot. Charlie had a patented move. He had 2 patented moves. One he threw a chest pass that just about knocked everybody over when he had it. And the other thing was he would dribble, and when Charlie dribbled, he pounded it on the floor. He would dribble under the basket and shoot this reverse layup, and he had good jump in him, so he could get right up on the rim and put it over his head. And that's what he did. He got the ball, took a couple dribbles under the basket, put that reverse layup, and of course the basket blocked Carl Johnson from being able to get at it, and that was the winning shot. That was the only 2 points he scored all year, I think. There is some irony in Woodlake's triumph this year. Perry Doney, the old fox of District 9, has been at Woodlake a long time. We don't know just how long offhand, but it's a long time. He had never won a district title. Last year, Perry got out of the basketball coaching racket, and the young Jerry Vanek took over. In his first year at the helm, his Warriors brought home the trophy. Doney's team could not quite capture the trophy that Doney's teams could not quite capture in their many previous tries. It's ironic. So we all grew up with Doney, and Doney was a fundamentals coach. A lot of you, like me, have gone to a lot of grandkids games now, and the quality of play now. The kids, the high school kids, are fantastic in what they can do and dribble the ball. But I still get frustrated watching the lack of fundamentals sometimes. They don't screen out and do those overplay some of the ball, and they just lack some of that. And Doney really taught fundamentals and stuff. And then Jerry Vanek came in, and Jerry, I don't know if it was the style he always wanted to play, or he saw what he had and worked us, but he worked our butt off. We ran and we ran and we ran, and I think that's how we outlasted these teams. And then we could play defense. He worked us really hard on playing defense, and we had Charlie Munch, who was a terrific ball player, and then we had a bunch of good athletes. We were probably better athletes than we were basketball players. We had 4 people off the team that got recruited by colleges, but 3 of us were football, and Charlie was the baseball recruit. So we were good athletes. And could really play tough defense. But we will be willing to bet the old fox, this is Doney again, had a hand in the sweetest of triumphs for the Warriors. We believe we could detect Donnie's fine Italian hand, I don't know what that means, fine Italian hand, in some of the defensive setups and some of the other plays of the Lakers. We would not be surprised if Donnie was around now and then with some shrewd suggestions, and that is taking nothing away from Jerry Vanek. So the Warriors will go down to St. Peter this weekend and will meet Hutchinson, to the bitter memory for Marshall fans in their first game. It is hard to say that Wood Lake is anything but the underdog. They have to be. But who would be so brash as to say they won't win it? On paper, Hutchinson must be the favorite. So here we are again, another big town, Marshall-sized town we had to play. Just as Tracy, Marshall, and Gallatin were favorites. The thing is, the game is not played on paper. It's played out there on the gymnasium floor and the bench and on the bench and in the dressing room. One thing we know for sure, you can't beat them if they won't stay licked. And up to now, Wood Lake has refused to stay licked. We'll also say this, they may get beat at St. Peter, but they won't get out-gutted. Well, we did get beat. We got beat by 4 points. I don't think we were out-gutted. I think we were maybe a little out-psyched. Had to go play there in the old barn in St. Peter. And I in particular remember being that. So it was a really a fun time. These guys, we worked really hard, and we were really thrilled, and I was thrilled for the town to take the district title. Any big thing I'm missing, you guys? Thanks again. Oh, I was really happy to see the program and see I'm on ahead of Mike O'Reilly.
Congratulations again to the 1966 Wood Lake Warrior boys basketball team. And this is so Tom Hinz has a collection, a museum of these kind of things. So at the end today, please stop over at the table and take a look at this, because this is their pictures of when they played. Our next team to be inducted in the 2025 Hall of Fame is our Cottonwood girls basketball team, the 1976 Cottonwood Raiders girls basketball team. This was the first year of high school girls basketball in the state of Minnesota. They finished with a 9-2 season record, 13-3 overall record. They defeated Ballatin 47-27 in District 9 tournament play. They defeated Lake Benton 38-32. And then they defeated Milroy 44-38 for the district championship. And they were defeated 46-41 in the Region 3 semifinals. And then they lost to Redwood Falls 60-28 in the championship. And then Redwood Falls went on to win the Class A state title. At this time, we would like the 1976 Cottonwood Raiders girls basketball team to please come up front, and they have a special presentation for you.
I'm Pat Fruin Carmody, and I was a senior co-captain. And this, I'll let Chris introduce yourself.
I'm Chris Gilb, formerly Chris Javens.
And with us today is Jane Lovesness. Say your last name now. Pate. And Dee Dee Johnson. Or are you D? Kirkfleet. So I'm going to let Chris start.
We just, on behalf of the team, I am really proud of this. We thank the Lakeview Hall of Fame for the incredible honor. And congratulations to the other honorees. There's a lot for our school to be proud of. It's been fun to be part of this activities. It's been fun to get together with our teammates that could make it. Especially fun to think back on that whirlwind year that we thought of nothing else.
Okay, I have a little presentation. My career started as a high school social studies teacher. I'd like to take this time to think of my favorite teacher was Mr. Patek, and he passed away last week, and his funeral was this week, and so he inspired me to be a high school social studies teacher. So this is sort of a little lesson about girls' sports. So I split this up into the season, the District 9 tournament. We were D9ers, and if any of you that lived around here knew that was kind of a put down by Marshall people because they were bigger than us. They weren't D9ers. And then the regions. So thinking back, and please if you want to add anything, because the very first thing that I thought of was Hendrix. We went to Hendrix right before Christmas, and we got stuck in the bus in front of a cemetery on, I think it was County Road 17 now, I think they call it. And we were stuck for a long time. And back then, not all the girls wore boots and it was a horrible winter. And I remember Chris had moccasins on because she always wore moccasins. And they had us get out of the bus. And is it up there, Maureen? The Hendrix? Okay. And we got out of the bus, and they had to go and get another bus and bring us in. And we took off our white socks with the blue stripes, and Chris had to put them over her moccasins. And Jane was telling me last night she was in the locker room with a hairdryer drying her socks so we could play. And in the article in the Marshall paper said, we didn't start the game till 8:45 that night. And can you imagine what time we got home from Hendrix?
And the B squad didn't play at all.
The B squad played a half a game, I think, that night. I'm like, that's my main memory of my season. But it was quite a deal. And then after the Hendrix game, that was right before Christmas, we came back after Christmas. We were undefeated. We lost the next two games. And we lost to Tracy, I think, and Tracy and Ivanhoe. Yeah, we lost 27-29 and 28-30. So we lost by one basket, basically. And I remember coming back after that, and we ran our butts off. I mean, we did more crunches than you'd ever. So it got us back on focus, I think, a little of that running we had to do. And so then the season continued. And the one thing I was saying to Donnie Johnson, I'm like, my dad put in a concrete pad for us so we could play basketball on the side of our house. But it was just a skinny area between the Fruins and the Johnsons. And I said, I don't know if we would have made three-pointers back then. And I mean, a lot of people didn't even realize we didn't have three-pointers. I don't know what year three-pointers came in, but I told Donnie I'd have to have been in your kitchen to make a three-pointer because it was skinny, our little court. So then we go into the District 9 tournament, and let's see, what picture is it? Okay. Is it Jane's picture there yet? I had to apologize for the picture that was in the Independent. Oh, yes. There's a picture of Mr. O'Reilly with the coolest long sideburns I've ever seen. And if you read that article, Miss Perkins talks about having to go to Mr. O'Reilly for help in defeating the press, because teams were pressing us a lot. And so she learned a lot from you. I have a letter from Miss Perkins, too, so. Yep. Yeah, she really was. And is, all right, there's the picture. Yeah, so last night I said, Jane, I got to tell you, and I got to apologize.
That's okay, because Reed taught me that position.
For that picture. And I think for a while we called her Pippi Longstocking afterwards because it was quite the picture. So, and do we have the picture of the team that, have you ever seen a happier group of girls after winning the district? I mean, there we were. And we were exhausted, but beating Milroy, wasn't it, for the districts? Yeah. And you can learn lessons from looking back on these old pictures. I agree with Tom. I'm kind of there with him. The businesses that, put the congratulations in the paper, and I think I counted, there's only like 3 businesses that, had 3 or 4 in there that exist today, but it really tells a real history lesson of our region. And then on to the region. And I keep all this stuff. Do you want it, Tom? So the price for getting in at the region tournament was $1 for students and $2 for the adults, which in today's world would be $5.68 if it's $1 and $11.36. So I think it's about $10 to get into a region game now, so I don't think they're charging enough. They haven't kept up with inflation. The region schools, it was Princeburg, it was Ortonville, it was Redwood Falls, and it was Cottonwood. I also went back and looked at the heights on these teams, and you're looking at our tallest player right here, 5'9", and they had we were not near as tall as some of those girls, and especially Redwood, who we were outclassed. We did get beat, really, on that game. And the thing about the first night, we went into double overtime and ended up winning in double overtime. Wow, that was a game. I do remember that. And then we went up against Redwood Falls, which was kind of bittersweet for us because the coach of Redwood Falls actually was a teacher in Cottonwood. Her name was Dee Mercy, and she went over to Redwood Falls, and we wanted to beat her so bad. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. So at this time, Tim Brown, who was the assistant coach, Chris has a letter from him, and then I also have something from Sheila Perkins.
So from Tim Brown, to the 1976 CHS girls basketball team, my heartfelt congratulations to this group of athletes for their induction into the Lakeview Athletic Hall of Fame. It was an honor and a pleasure to be able to join you in that journey. Your commitment to wanting to be better with each practice and game was a joy to watch unfold. Your efforts paved the way for many athletes in years to come.
And this is from Sheila Perkins, who I found. I had to do a little research to find her, and I'm now communicating with her, so that's kind of fun. In 1974, Ralph Brennelson hired me, Sheila Perkins, to teach and coach the kids of Cottonwood. The school district had made the commitment to follow the newly passed constitutional amendment, commonly known as Title IX, and provide athletic opportunities for the girls of the school. They needed a coach. Newly graduated from college and armed with a coaching minor and all the info acquired from the required basketball coaching class, I set out to teach some skills, install offense and defense, and call timeouts at the right time. But as I reflect back 50 years, I realize it was really about giving girls the opportunity to gain self-confidence, work at being leaders, and to be part of a team who could work together to achieve their goals. Little did we realize at the time that we were part of a movement much bigger than ourselves. At our grassroots level, I and my team were just excited to actually practice and compete in meaningful contests. Excited to have a gym to practice in, and school provided uniforms to wear. The home games and the bus rides, the hometown support, the teams who struggled to guard us, beating Ortonville at their house in overtime. I'm sure they still think they didn't foul. 1976 was a very fun and rewarding season, finishing in the top 16 teams in the state, because that was the first year of women only in the winter, and also a 2-class tournament. 1976 was an especially meaningful year for this, as it was the first year the Minnesota State High School League sponsored a 2-class state tournament for girls basketball. Inducting the 1976 Cottonwood girls basketball team into the Hall of Fame this year of the 50th anniversary of the first state tournament makes it all more special. This team led the way in helping to establish basketball and sports for all girls. Many girls have benefited from women such as those who went before them. The growth of girls' sports has been phenomenal, as evidenced by not only the number of girls playing, but the growth of collegiate and professional leagues, and these Raider women carrying the legacy of being pioneers of that growth. I want to personally thank these women who learned with me as we went along and believed in us. Tim Brown for being a great assistant, Mike O'Reilly for answering my not so smart questions. Congrats on your selection too, Mike. And all who made it possible for this team to excel. And thanks to the committee for selecting our team for this honor. I'm truly honored in my 40 years of coaching, mostly volleyball, and the accolades that come with successful teams. Being part of this team where I started my career and receiving this honor is by far the most special. Thank you, and congratulations to our 1976 Raiders.
And congratulations again to our 1976 Cottonwood Raiders girls basketball team. To our individual inductees, our first individual inductee is Mr. Jason Fischer. And before I read about his accolades here, I knew Jason in college, and one thing I always remember about Jason in college is no matter what he did athletically, it was absolutely extraordinary and outstanding. What he could do with a baseball bat, throwing a baseball, playing intramural basketball. I mean, to watch Jason play in college was a treat for me, being a freshman when he was a junior. And now I get to live in the same community with him, got to coach his son, and it's just an extreme honor to introduce you today, Jason. You were an idol to me when I was in college, so I thank you for that. But Jason Fischer was a Cottonwood Raider graduate in 1987. He was a 5-year letter winner, baseball and golf, 4-year letter winner in football, 3-year letter winner in basketball, 1984 to 1987 all area teams in football, basketball, baseball, and golf, 1987 District 9 baseball champion, 1987 state golf participant, actually played in the same day in both state tournaments, 1987 to 1990 Southwest State Minnesota state baseball 4-year letter winner, all NSIC all-conference baseball team, all-American honor in NAIA collegiate baseball. He was also the head basketball coach, baseball coach, and golf coach here at Lakeview from 1992 to 1998. He was also the 1993 and 2002 member of the Class C Amateur State Baseball Championship, who his dad, Merle, was the coach. And he also hit a grand slam to send the game to the championship. He's also the manager of the Cottonwood Area's Cardinals Amateur Baseball since its rebirth in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Fischer.
I just want to add a few words about Jason. I first saw this kid probably 50 back in 1973 or 1974 after they moved to Cottonwood. You could tell this kid was going to be a special athlete. He could throw a baseball already, and I watched a lot of kids play ball and all that stuff. And this kid was a special talent. He's worked hard at the game, and he's done everything the right way. A good family man. I also want to thank him for bringing back the town team baseball. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'd like to congratulate all the other inductees tonight. I'm just going to start with a few thank yous. Thank you for the nomination committee for nominating me and inducting me. A couple other thank yous. Start with my high school coaches, Mr. Jagger, baseball, Mr. Sutton, football, Mr. Riley, basketball and golf. I was just going to say a couple thank yous, and then after listening a little bit, I thought of one story I'll tell a little bit different. Being Mike is getting inducted tonight also. Congratulations to you. I don't know that Mike would remember this. So I was a freshman playing in Tracy as Mr. Jeff Dahl was my B squad coach. Tracy Murray, if any of you guys remember, was a pressing team, half-court trap team. Very hard team for young point guards to handle. And we were, one thing that this school has and everyone should be proud of is amazing facility with the ability to practice and open for anybody at any time. That was not the case at Cottonwood High School. My recollection is we randomly got an hour of open gym on a random Saturday throughout, if we were lucky, and we wanted to come. So a lot of our practice time was a very short period of time. A lot of times it was on the same half court with the varsity. Varsity got obviously the first amount of time. We had not had a lot of practice against half court trap. I know that we had probably had some. So we went down there and I was a point guard, 9th grade B squad, and got absolutely destroyed. I would say handful, maybe 10 turnovers at the timeline. After the game, we were talking about we lost by a lot. I don't remember, but Mr. Riley come in, and after Jeff had said some comments, come up to me personally and said, "It was a pretty tough game." He said, "If you continue to play like that half court, you'll never play varsity basketball." I thought, wow. And I knew Mr. Riley, but he was a varsity coach, and I was not near good enough to play varsity basketball at the time, so it wasn't really my coach. I was kind of offended. So here's where things are different. I went home pretty upset. Every day, my dad and I had a tradition that we talked about the game in the hot tub at home. And a lot of times that went on for hours, and it didn't always end in me not crying or being upset. So I brought this up to him, that my coach had told me that I was never going to play high school basketball. And you know what he said? He's the coach. I'm like, wow, like you're really going to take his side over mine? And I remember being very upset and going to bed arguing. I will say that was a lot of motivation for me. This day and age, as Mr. Hansen said, I've coached a little bit over the years, we need more of that support from parents toward the coaches. That is the one thing that I see that's substantially different in communities is that the kids are supported and believed and backed, but the coaches aren't. And sometimes maybe it is justified not to, but that is the hardest thing nowadays is, everybody wants their kid, including myself, to their child to be the best. But you have to be realistic and you have to be able to see past that. And, if the kid is going to be the best, it will be motivation for them. I just had a few more thank yous. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for all the support over the years. I'd also like to thank my high school sweetheart, which is now my wife.
and just the rest of the fans and community and everybody that supported me. I just take a couple quick minutes to introduce my family. So I have one grandchild, Bentley St. Aubin, from my oldest daughter, who is soon going to have a sibling. My other daughter, Caitlin Isaacson, who is also soon going to give me another grandchild. And my son, Jordan, who is a senior at SDSU this year. And my sister-in-law, Maren Magnuson, and my mother-in-law, Linda Magnuson. It is truly an honor for me to be accepted, and thank you. Thank you.
And again, one more time, Mr. Jason Fischer. Our next inductee, Matthew Gabbert, Echo Wood Lake Cougar graduate, 1990. He was the class salutatorian, 4-year letter winner in football and basketball, 2-year letter winner in band and chorus, 1988-89 Marshall Independent Area All-Area First Team in football and basketball, 1989-90 Marshall Independent Star Tribune Advocate and Redwood Gazette All-Area Teams in football, 1990 Marshall Independent Star Tribune Redwood Gazette First Team All-Area in basketball, 1989 and 1990 First Team All-Conference in basketball. He was also the 1988 through 90 Player of the Week on KMHL, KKCK, and he was also on the WCCO Prep Parade team. In 1990, he scored 45. He had 45 points and 22 rebounds against Ivanhoe. He was also a 1,000-point club. Career points, he scored 1,262. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Gabbert.
Thanks, Coach Hansen. Appreciate it. I'll bring this out. It's not nearly this long. It's just 72-point font, so I don't have to wear my readers up here. First off, I started to say thank you to Lakeview Schools and the Lakeview Hall of Fame Committee for nominating me to be included with so many great men and women and teams of the past. It's an honor to be recognized with them all and to be included into the Hall of Fame. When I received the call from Coach Hansen and then also from Hall of Fame committee member Dave Stelter, I was honestly surprised, as there are so many people that have not only been great athletes, but great people in how they played and represented their communities. I have to admit, it's kind of ironic standing up here as a former Echowood Lake Cougar, knowing that our biggest rival through my high school career was the Cottonwood Raiders. The merger to Lakeview happened a couple years after I graduated, and if not for the consolidation, I don't know if I would have met my lovely wife, Jill, of 27 years. Jason, this is tougher than we thought it was going to be, isn't it? When the merger happened, Jill and my little brother Mitch became classmates and graduated together, which is where I first met her. After 5 years of dating and 27 years of marriage, it just celebrated on the 12th, by the way, we're enjoying our life in Hartford, South Dakota with our 3 kids, Nick, who couldn't make it today, Seth, who was here, and Kaya, who is here. I'm up here today for what I did in high school, but my greatest achievements in life are those 3 that call me Dad. And Jill, you make me a better man each and every day I get to spend with you. You're not an achievement, but a blessing from God. I love you, babe. With 27 years of marriage comes 27 years of patience. And although it doesn't happen every year, Jill may have at times had to endure me popping in an old VHS tape to watch some game film of my high school years. Man, were those shorts short. Oh, my word. Mike, we talked about that last night. And my daughter can definitely attest to that, as I may have donned the old high school basketball jersey just a few years ago, and my daughter was, let's just say, not impressed. My younger brother Mitch is here today as well with his son Rylan. Mitch, even though I probably didn't show it very much because you were that freshman, having you as a teammate was very important to me. One of my favorite pictures that I found looking through my scrapbooks to find a picture for the Hall of Fame plaque was of my senior parents' night for football. Me and you in our uniforms with mom and dad smiling behind us. You're not only my younger brother, but you're one of my best friends. I love you. When I think back to my high school years, I can honestly say I tried to represent the town of Woodlake the best I could. Don't get me wrong, I was very competitive and probably still am a little bit today. But I tried to respect all the people I played against and also carried that respect over to all the people of Woodlake. I remember our small gymnasium being filled during basketball games, no matter what our record was, and also the cars and people lining the football field every Friday night. The support us players got from our community was amazing. This respect was taught to me at a very young age by my parents. My mom Lori's here today, and my dad is with you in my heart, having passed away in 2013. They were always there to encourage me, help me, and to lead me in the way I needed to handle things on and off the court or the field. Mom was the first person there to give me a hug after a game, and Dad was always there to give, let's just say, quote-unquote, input on what happened during the games. At times it wasn't easy, and at times I didn't understand the things they were telling me, as Jason said earlier. But as I grew older and as I look back on it today, what they taught me and how they taught me helped me respect everyone on and off the field. I love you, Mom. Thanks to all my teammates, friends, and the entire communities from Echo, Woodlake, and Bellevue. It was a time I'll never forget, and we had so many good times, from the many bus rides with AC/DC cranking on the handheld boombox. Rylan, that's a radial thing that we, yeah. To the excitement of a last-second 40-yard field goal by Brett Hagstead to win a football game in the pouring rain. I also want to say a special thank you to all my coaches that helped me to achieve the things I did during high school. Todd Pack, who gave me my first chance as a freshman in basketball. Barry Whitehour, who's here today, for putting up with me in both basketball and football. We spent a lot of days together throughout high school, Barry, and you always pushed me, and you kept me focused when I needed it, and that will never be forgotten. Kenny Bond for the support in the senior trip to Williams Arena to watch the Golden Gophers, and also the late Dan Roman, who gave me my first shot in football as a freshman in a very close playoff game versus Minnesota. I'll never forget trying to hide when he was yelling my name to go into that game. It's Minnesota. Coach Hansen, take them down. They need to be down. And to wrap things up, congratulations to all the other inductees with me today. I grew up watching and listening to guys like Jason and Toombs. And Sadie, you're a bit younger than me, so unfortunately I grew older hearing of all the things that you're accomplished. It's an honor to be included with everybody. Thanks again to Lakeview Schools and the Lakeview Hall of Fame for the induction and for putting all this together.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Gabbert. Our next inductee is Miss Sadie Stelter. So Miss Sadie Stelter was in high school when I first came here 9 years ago. And kind of like Jason Fischer, I saw her play, and I'm like, wow, this girl has a lot of special talent. It didn't matter if it was volleyball, basketball, fast pitch, softball. She was very talented. But on top of all that, she was a great leader and a great human being. So Sadie Stelter, Lakeview Laker graduate in 2017, 5-year letter winner, basketball and softball, 4-year letter winner in volleyball, 2013 through 17 basketball all-conference, 1,000-point career club. Her career points in high school was 2,357. In 2014 and 15 and 2016 and 17, she was the basketball conference MVP. She was the 2016 and 2017 Basketball Marshall Independent Player of the Year. She was 2015 through 17 softball all-conference, 2-time All-State in basketball and softball, and she was also all-conference in volleyball. And then she went on to Southwest State, Minnesota, where she had a 5-year career. She was 4-time NSIC All-Academic Team. She started 93 collegiate starts out of 122 games, and she ranks 3rd all-time in three-pointers made in Southwest State, Minnesota University history with 199. Her career college stats: she scored 1,322 points, 438 rebounds, 226 assists, and 110 steals. Ladies and gentlemen, Sadie Stelter.
So I was asked to say a few words about Sadie, and I was honored to have this opportunity. Sadie was a 3-sport star here and could dominate whatever sport she played. Athletics just came natural to her. Her leadership seemed to be natural. And we heard of this young Woodlake girl around town that was a good athlete. And being from Woodlake, that was a good thing. Sadie came into our program in 8th grade, and we immediately realized that we had to get her on the varsity, which wasn't done a lot at that time in our school. And so we bring her up to varsity probably halfway through the year, threw her in the game against Lincoln High. She hit a 3-pointer, scored 8 points, showed no fear, and kind of the rest is history. Like, she just took off. Like, 8th grade or not, I trusted her. And I was lucky enough to coach you your years here at Lakeview. She did a lot of things that made me look smarter than I actually was. And that's the best part about having good athletes. They make you look better than what you are. By the time she was in her sophomore year, she had already recorded her 1,000th point. And a story that I can think of, as she got to be a senior, she hit her 2,000th point down at McRae. And, of course, everybody was excited. The parents have all the big heads and a lot of pictures going on. But when most of that cleared out, there was a young girl from McRae that came up to Sadie and kind of idolized her and had seen her play, and she wanted to get her picture with Sadie. Now, mind you, we don't like McRae. Like, they're a conference team. That's just the way it is. But this young gal came up to Sadie and was very enamored with her. Sadie took the time to take a picture. I don't know if there was an autograph involved or not, and that made the paper. But I thought at that time, that kind of embodied what Sadie was. It wasn't just that she scored 2,000 points. It was that she's a good person, people. She really cares about not only her teammates, her family, but just outsiders. And I can't tell you how many young athletes in our community have looked up to Sadie through all the different sports. And she's been a great addition. Like I said, she's a 3-sport star. Luckily for me, her favorite was basketball. And we never had to struggle to get to her basketball practice because I knew if there was volleyball or softball, she's going to come to basketball. True? Yeah. So that, for me, that was good. You want them to ski at every sport, but you want to get them when you can get them. One last memory of her. So her senior year and junior and senior year, we got bumped to AA because of enrollment. And her senior year, we had to go play Montevideo, or his Class A team, with 4 or 5 or something. Down 3 with 15 seconds to go. And luckily, the idiot coach gave no one else the ball besides Sadie. Idiot would be me. we drew up the play for Sadie, and the rest of the kids ran it like they're supposed to. Sadie hits a three-pointer with a few seconds to go. We end up winning the game in Montevideo, and that kind of extended her career for Lakeview. Like, we were kind of dead in the water, but Sadie was never afraid to take a big shot. She was always willing to do whatever the team needed. Now, the one joke on this whole thing is Sadie learned how to play defense at college. So it's hard when you're the best, when your best player can score the points you need to win a game. But if she doesn't want to play defense at times, how do you make her get to play defense? She was a good defender when she wanted to be. She just didn't always want to be. But she went to college, and she learned how, if I don't play defense, I don't play. And then I watched her game grow as she got into college, and man, she was a terrific collegiate athlete. We got to take our teams down there, and a lot of the younger Lakers then again goes to see her playing at college. I mean, what an inspiration. And she did great things. And then, that all being said, we have a coaching opening 4 years ago now. And I tend to try and recruit my own coaches into the program. Sadie is available. I'm like, hey, Sadie, you want to come and coach ninth grade with us? And really no hesitation. She was all in. My fear was I know how much of a competitor she is and how super talented is. She's going to play from NSIC basketball to coach ninth grade kids that have trouble walking and chewing gum at the same time. To Sadie's defense or whatever, to watch what she's grown in the 3 years of coaching far outweighs any of her athletic achievement as far as me as being able to be with her, not only as a coach, as a friend. She has grown immensely. These young kids that are now playing juniors, sophomores, and seniors have really taken to her. She's really helped take our program to another level. And even though she won't be with us this next year, we will get her back on staff. And just thank you for all you've done for all of Lakeview Athletics. You're not only a great friend, but just a super competitor, and we're lucky to have you here. So thank you.
Okay, I'm clearly a little bit younger, so I'm not very good at public speaking, so I had to write everything down. It's truly an honor to be standing here this morning, and I'm humbled to be inducted into the Lakeview Hall of Fame. This recognition represents years of hard work, sacrifice, and support, not just from me, but from the entire community around me. Growing up, sports were more than just a passion for me. They were a purpose, a home, and at times a full-time job. Whether it was basketball, volleyball, or softball, I poured my heart into every practice and every game. When I first started playing sports, I didn't set out to break records. I just wanted to compete. To play the game the right way with grit, passion, and a little bit of fire. And as I got older, it may have become a lot more fire depending on who we were playing. There was early mornings and late nights, bruises, ice packs, and more team bus rides than I can count. And while I'll never forget the records, the points, the wins, the close games, I remember the moments in between even more. I'll never forget the teammates who became family, the coaches who saw potential when I didn't, the games we weren't supposed to win, like the Monty game, but we somehow did. And yes, the moments when we lost and we learned and we grew together because of it. To Lakeview School, thank you for providing me with the foundation to grow, not just as an athlete or student, but as a person. To my coaches, thank you for pushing me, correcting me, believing in me, and when needed, humbling me. You helped me become more than I thought I could be. To my family and my friends and my former teammates, thank you for the laughter and the grind and the memories and the never-ending support. And to the Hall of Fame committee, thank you for recognizing my journey. This honor means the world to me, and even if it means I now have to live up to being a Hall of Famer, which is a little bit of a pressure, but no worries, I handled a lot of full court presses. If I can leave one message to younger athletes, it's this. Enjoy every moment. It goes by fast. Work hard, stay grounded, and never forget where you come from. Listen to your coaches and never underestimate the power of hustle and heart and a little bit of grit. Success isn't about the trophies on the shelf. It's about the people who stood by you, the character you built, and the legacy you leave behind. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I'm humbled, I'm honored, and I'm deeply thankful to be a part of the Lakeview Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sadie Stelter. Our next inductee is Mr. Michael Riley, Cottonwood Raider coach. And I got to know Mike over the years and just want to thank you for the friendship that we have, and I love listening to your stories. He coached 25 years as the head boys basketball coach, 16 winning seasons of those 25 years, 2 undefeated regular seasons, 1970 and 1976, 1975 District 9 runner-up. He was also the head track coach from 1966 to 1975, and he was also instrumental in starting the Cottonwood golf program, where they were 2-time state girls golf champions in 1989 and 1991. He was also a delegate to the Minnesota State High School League Association for 15 years for District 9. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Riley.
I want to talk a little too about Coach O'Reilly. I've known this guy from first couple of years. He came back in 1965 or 66. He probably never won a district championship. I know it still kind of bothers him, but there was some big schools he always had to compete against. He always had the time for our family. He taught beside my mom for 29 years, him and his wife. When my daughter needed some help with golf, he was always there to help him. I know he's had some health issues now, but I hope he can get back on the golf course. There's not a better teacher in golf than him. I'm glad that I'm a close personal friend of him. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Of course, you want to congratulate all the people that got in the Hall of Fame today. And I'm not going to take time because Terry said I only have 10 minutes up here. So, and Pat, 2 comments. You girls are not small. Believe me, nobody wanted to go in the lane with Chris James and get their head taken off, I can tell you that. And the other thing, that was a very physical team, and so was the boys' team that year. They were undefeated. The best defensive team I ever coached, without a doubt, but not the best shooting team. And it cost us in the end. And Jason, I thought you had a different story. I remembered the one that I said, you have enough ability. I said, for gosh sakes. And he said, well, you can't catch the ball. I said, you have enough ability as point guard to know which ones can catch the ball and which ones can't. So throw it so you get it to them the right way. In 1964, I came here as supposed to be a head basketball coach. I didn't get signed up here. I was debating on what we were doing. I had a chance to teach at Hutchinson, but my wife had to teach in Cosmos in a country school, and we were debating on doing it, and she wouldn't do it, so then we called Brynolson, Mr. Brynolson, and said we'd come out here. Well, in the meantime, the guy that had to teach chemistry would only come if he could be head basketball coach. So Ralph said, I'll tell you what, when we got here, he says, I'll pay you for the head basketball job. You see, you won't have to coach. We have an A and a B team coach. So at Christmas time, I planned to leave to go to southeastern Minnesota to coach. And in the meantime, the job opened up, and I'm glad it did. I became associated. And why do you coach? Somebody asked me that. Why would a guy even go into coaching? All the garbage you have to take. And I said, well, I guess I haven't had a lot of that. I hadn't done that, haven't had any problems with that in the past, but I know it goes on. But I said, you coach because of the relationships you build with people. I think now of all the years I spent on the delegate assembly, how lucky I was to meet all these coaches throughout the state and to see the different personalities and to get the different ideas from them. And then to have the families that you work with all the years here in a community. It's unbelievable. That's the best part of coaching. The worst part of coaching is, and I don't know if the other coaches all thought this way, but my worst part of coaching was the day you had to cut the kids. When you win, you got plenty of kids to play. The first year I coached here, I had to go ask 4 kids to play basketball to get a team. They didn't win a game the year before. And when you lose, it's hard to get them. Well, you got Steve Boom and a bunch of kids to come out and play for us. And it took 2 years, and I said, well, you've been losing for so long. I said, we've got to go back and go into a pressing a defense and play and learn to be aggressive. You've lost that somewhere along the line. And so we did. And the first 5 years we coached here, it was unbelievable. We set a state record for most points scored. Of course, that was with Hanley Falls. We went over there and we were a full court pressing team. And all you had to do over there was take the ball out of bounds and shoot it. And it caught me by surprise. I didn't realize the gym was that small. And I'll never forget the kid. He was a left-hander, and Cougarud was his name. And I don't think he could have missed if he tried. He was bouncing the ball off the bank boards up there, everything was going in. And so that set the record. And that record stood until Cass Lake broke it here just a couple of years ago. Up at the state tournament, as a matter of fact. It's amazing they could score that much. Normally you wouldn't be able to. The competition would be too tough, but evidently it's not all that tough anymore up there because of all the class systems and things. But anyway, I will get back to the part. The second year I was here coaching, we played a team Bellevue, and they had the Hagen boys, the Mace twins, and I forget the center's name, but anyway, outstanding basketball team, and what a great team. They came over here, and for some reason we had a kid get loose, and Greg Prairie scored 35 points out of the clear blue. I mean, I could never... I didn't know he had it in him, but anyway, he did. And we were the only one to beat Bellevue that year, and they almost made it to the state tournament. And then after that, in the 70s, of course, we had the great team. And again, I said I was glad to see when Gunner graduated. He was always a pain in my butt, but the... deal we went over there with was Well, I've got to backtrack because I want to explain something to the Wood Lake people. No, I want you to understand me on this part of it. I came to Cottonwood, and I'm not knowing it. I went down to the lumber yard to get some stuff for the school, and the guy says, "You the new coach?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so." He said, "Well, I want to tell you one thing. I don't care who you beat or what goes on, what your record is, as long as you kick Wood Lake." I said, "What? You got to kick Wood Lake." I said, "Wood Lake, huh? Where are they?" And he said, "Right over here, 5 miles," he said. I said, "Yeah, okay." I never took it at heart, but then I went to a game the first year I didn't coach, and I saw Perry, and I always kidded Perry because I went up to a lot of two baseball games with him up in the cities. And I said, "How come you'd run that score up 90-some to 19? I said, "Well," he says, he didn't have an answer for it. And I said, I couldn't do that to anybody. I said, the one thing you learn is you never want to get beat bad. Don't let your kids get beat bad. And don't ever run the score up on anybody. And, he says, that's your philosophy. I said, no. But anyway, we did. Well, the next year I went over there after he ran that score up, and I thought, well, I'm just going to start out real slow. And you people they're all great athletes in here, believe me today. And when I got over to Wood Lake, I said, I want Dave Shireen, I said, you got to jump the ball because we got to get the first tip. And I said, we're going to hold the ball for the whole quarter. What? I said, we're going to have some fun over here at Wood Lake tonight. So anyway, Dave jumped the ball, got the tip, and into the first quarter, it was 2-0. Everybody was going nuts. I looked at Gene House over there. I didn't know who he was. I looked at him and I thought, geez, things going on. So anyway, the second quarter we went out there and same thing. Minute before half, Eric Anderson, shouldn't have used his name, but he turned the ball over and they scored. And I yelled, I said, I told you I didn't want them to score. Kaboom! Some woman come up behind me and knocked me off the stage over at Wood Lake. She apologized many times since, believe me. But she said, you just made me so mad. I said, I can understand that. We couldn't even go in the locker room at halftime. They blocked the stairway, so we had to take it on the floor. But I come back to school the next day, and he says, walked into school, and superintendent looks up, he says, think you're funny? I said, what? He said, you think you're funny? I said, funny, what are you talking about? He says, 4-2 at halftime? Yeah, I said, I didn't want them to score, but they did. And I'm not talking about that. He said, I'll never forget it. And I said, did you hire me to win? He said, we don't care about that, he says. I said, oh, okay, I understand now. I don't have to win anymore. Okay, that's good, I said. Don't keep the score close. And I walked out. I was a little disgusted with him, but he was probably right, and it wasn't good. But second half, Lacey, and Butch Richter knows the rules. Believe me, I know Butch knows the rules. And second half, Lacey came over to the bench, and he says, Mike, he says, I'm going to call you delaying the game. He says, there'll be a technical foul. I said, you can't call a technical foul. I got the lead. They got to get the ball. They have to come for the ball. I said, send me Butch. Send Butch over here. Butch wouldn't come over. And anyway, he says, I'm giving you a technical foul. He gave me a technical foul. 2 minutes later, same thing. Called me over and says, I'm going to give you a technical foul. Well, then you could have 3. Well, I got a technical foul. But anyway, to make a long story short, he comes back and he says, don't you think, look out there at those people, how glad they'd be if I'd give you an exit out of here. I said, I said, yeah, they probably would, but you send Butch over here. Butch came down after the game and apologized. He said, you were right, Mike. We have to force action. Well, the point is, I hadn't planned to run that the whole game, but it was having so much fun with it. I let it go, and I guess I don't know. Mike Max was asking me about it. He'd even heard about that, and up there in WCCO, and I said, yeah, that happened. But anyway, getting back with this, I told Dave Mattson, one of the ball players, that I said, if I get an opportunity, again, I will just give a quick note on the 70 team. Say, by the way, Charlie, I got a point of advice for you. Thanks to Terry. He's the one that, when I watched you play, you guys had a great team. That team was great. And I went over to St. Peter to watch that game. And I said, I learned one thing about watching you play basketball. Charlie turns a different way. Did you ever notice that? You said the reverse layup. Yep. I said the next year we beat these good guys. These guys were really good and we beat them. Why? Because nobody that's a right-hander turns this way to shoot. And Joel I said, you can block that shot every single time. And it was to that advantage that we did that. Next year, it was the biggest win of our young career of basketball, but that was that backward shot. And you got by with it because you jumped so well, usually. But Jolsted had timing on that one, and I said, we worked on that all week. We're going to look for that particular shot, and it worked out. And then, well, you had enough firepower with you anyway. Well, getting back to the rest of it then, over the years in the 70s, we had some great teams. We had that 76 team when the girls were good, the boys were undefeated, and they beat that Canby team that was undefeated, Bertimus and that Klompenberg or whatever his name was. They were 6'7", 6'9", or 6 something, I forget. But anyway, it was nice to beat that team. And then I think we beat Tracy team, and then I don't remember who we lost out to that year, but we had trouble shooting, and David Johnson took a shot on the baseline, and had that ball gone in, we'd have won. There was a tie game, and we went into overtime. But that one could have gone in. In 71, when Gunner beat us down there in 1969, we lost by 1 point. And we called for a backdoor. And we got a layup, and we missed the dang layup. Went around and around, had it come off right away. We could have put it back in time. But it didn't. It kept rolling around until the horn sounded, and we ended up losing by 1 to Wood Lake. That was the year you guys beat Marshall. And so the one-pointers always seem to come around and get you. But over the years, of all the things that in basketball, I enjoyed every year that I coached it. And I said, when I got the first phone call, that somebody wasn't appreciative of it. John Wooden told me years ago. He said, he explained how he ended his career. 3 times national champion. The next year they got beat out by 1 point walking across the street with his booster club. One of the guys said, "Why the hell did you do that, John? Why did you do that? What were you thinking?" And he said, "When I got to the other side of the street, I called my wife and I said, 'We're done coaching.'" He said, because where does the booster club guy think of telling somebody that's been 3-time national champion in a row? And so when the fans turn on, it's probably time to go. But anyway, to make a long story short, now I just want to get here, and I'm not going to spend any more time on some things, but I do want to go through the golf part. We were fortunate to get a really good golf program, and it was not easy. Our superintendent at the time didn't think it was necessary to have a golf program, although we didn't have wrestling. Wood Lake didn't either. None of us had full athletic programs at that time. And I said, well, I'll just do it on my own. I said, I'll start the golf if you'll give us some equipment. Well, he said, no, we're not giving any equipment. He says, then you'll want to do it in Phi Ed. I said, well, I think it's a lifetime thing. It should be done in Phi Ed. And Helen Pearson really was one person that helped me out on that, and she kept requesting it every year too. So once we got the golf program started, I had my track kids. They didn't want to run track, and I don't blame them. I never really wanted to run track either. For 10 years I coached it, but the thing is, I was amazed when somebody would say, I'll run the 2 mile today. I said, you will? He says, yeah. I said, well, I didn't want to ask anybody to, but if you want to run it, you sure can. And so the thing is, Lee Mossy, Greg Prairie, Mark Giel, all those 68 class, they said, if you get golf in here, we'll come out for track. I said, that's the deal. Well, it took 2 years, but we finally got it done. And we got the golf program started. And then he let us partake in district golf the first years up to 1976 when we have our golf course developed. Then the girls program started, and this is where we really were successful, was in the girls programs. And I think it was 10 out of 11 years we went to the state tournament, and that was when it was only a 2-class system. And I don't believe only once, maybe twice, we didn't end up in the top 3. And then we finally won the championship. We were runner-up, and then we were champions in 89 and 91. And so I finally got my state title, and I want to thank my daughter for that, because she was our leading golfer, and she couldn't get away from me at home, so she had to get better or leave. So it was one thing, and I told her, I said, now, you know, you need to par the last hole to win. And she said, yep. And so on the last hole on the St. Cloud Country Club, I said, you better hit above the hole and make sure you get up that hill and then chip back on. Yeah, just exactly like I planned it. She hit it to the corner, hit it short of the green, and I thought, what in the heck are you doing? Well, then she chipped up and on. She says, I like an uphill chip a lot better than a downhill. And I said, okay. So we did end up winning the championship, and we did end up getting our state championship finally here for that. But we had the opportunity in the basketball a number of times, and I firmly believe in the press yet. Your kids stay much more aggressive, and they seem like they work harder, and it's one way to make them work harder. So I'm glad to see Mike is doing more of it now and stuff, and with Sadie there, she'll probably get them teaching that in the girls program, and then the boys, I don't know the coach, so I would hope they would too, but I wanted to explain that 4-point game at Wood Lake. That's how it got evolved, and the kid, I told Dave Mattson that I said if I ever would, in 1970 when we had the undefeated team, that was the best offensive team I had, but I needed a guard. And everybody knows that plays the board. You need a Charlie, or you need somebody that can control the ball. Just control the ball. It showed when we beat that Tracy team in '81 when Craig Norland could control the ball for us. We stalled the last 3 minutes of the game. It was tie. Tracy did it to us a number of times, and I thought, well, we owe them one too. But I really didn't think they'd let us stall 3 minutes away with the team they had. And when we came out and went in the stall and they pressured us, we took a timeout. We came out and they stood in the zone. Well, then all we have to do is run our special play at the end of the game and shoot the shot with 3 seconds left, and you beat a great team. But you need guard play to do that, and that's the most important thing for them. And I forgot the other point I was going to make. One other one there. Oh, when we went down to Laverne the year in '70, Laverne was a conference champion, and we thought we had Marshall. We thought we could play with them, let's say, because Laverne won this Southwest Conference champion and beat Marshall in 2 games. I think it was 5 points and 7 points they beat him by. And we went down because Dwayne Muchler was a classmate of mine in Winona, and I said, he said, well, can you offer me any competition, Mike? Oh, I said, I think so. I think we'll give you a good run for your money. He says, well, why don't you come on down then? So we went down and scrimmaged Laverne, and well, I'll never forget when we walked in that place, the cheerleaders were working there, and they said, what are you looking for? I said, for the gym for the basketball. And, they said, good luck. And we walked in and we warmed up, went out and scrimmaged and ran the same exact thing we were going to do. Every coach knows you've got to start the game out good, and you want to take sure things to get the lead. All you have to do is have the lead. Get it early. We ran that against them. When we got all done with the scrimmage, their coach was having their kids run wind sprints. We actually just slaughtered them. And they were running wind sprints when we left after we'd showered and everything. We get up here to Marshall and we ran the same thing. Only difference was Marshall had a thug and they fouled us really hard. And the kid that was fouled was an 82% free thrower. But he had colitis and he was relatively thin and shoots 2 for 9. That tells you what happens to a game like that. Turns sour right away. 2 for 9 on the free throw line doesn't help. But I want to thank you and Mr. Hansen and Tom Hinz. Thank you. You did a great job on all this stuff, and we will
you, buddy.
Yep.
Hey, give me a hug.
I have
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike O'Reilly. And our last inductee. Throughout your life, you want to meet people that make an impact in your life. And Tom, I remember the first meeting we had 9 years ago on the 50-yard line, and within 10 seconds of meeting Tom, you're like, this person is someone special. And he's not only special to me, but he's so special to the communities of Woodlake and Cottonwood and Lakeview schools. And what he does for both communities is that we're very proud and we're very fortunate, we're very lucky to have Mr. Tom Hinz. So Tom, I just want to thank you for being a great friend. I enjoy your visits when you come to school and see me, and I love you. But anyway, Tom Hinz, Woodlake Warrior graduate. Tom Hinz, Woodlake Warrior graduate 1969. He played high school baseball from 1967 to 1969. He contributed to various sports in Cottonwood and the Woodlake communities through various roles, including bat boy, student manager, and sports writer for the local newspapers. He was also the Woodlake amateur baseball manager from 1979 to 1983. He was the Cottonwood Cardinals amateur baseball manager from 1986 to 1990. 40 years of service and scorekeeping for the Cottonwood Raiders and the Lakeview basketball teams, and he's still doing it today. 33 years of service in the Lakeview football press box on Friday nights, and this is Tom Hinz' quote. It's all about the relationships you build up with the kids over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Hinz.
These guys must be hard up to get people to speak for them or something, but Tom came in Wednesday and said, hey, you got to speak for me. I said, okay, I'd gladly. I'm honored to speak on behalf of a good friend and one of the biggest Lakeview supporters I know. I can't really talk about Tom's prowess as a baseball player or coach, but I'm sure he was a great teammate and friend to all. As far back as I can remember, Tom has always been an important member in our school and community. He has a memory like no other and can tell you stats and scores from almost any game he covered. He has spent countless hours announcing football games, running the scoreboard, and keeping scorebook for many, many teams. He was a sports reporter for the newspaper also for quite some time, and he always had a way of making the coaches sound smarter than we actually were, even though when I read the article, I'm pretty sure I didn't say half those things. I've been fortunate enough to ride a lot of bus rides with Toombs. He's really good at riding a bus with you and finding a better option going home. And I don't blame him. Well, speaking of that, we're going to relate back to this Monday game, and Sadie laughs over there. So, like I said, Toombs would typically disappear after a game, and we would just assume he got a ride home. Well, that night after we won that playoff game in Montevideo, we were all in a good mood. Danny, the bus driver, was going to take us to Hardee's or Burger King, whatever the place was. We leave the school and get about 3 miles down the road, and my phone rings, and it's Tom. Where's the bus? I said, oh, shit, we left you. And then he got kind of mad. But we went back and got him, and he celebrated with us. That he's just been like a fabric of our community. He just has. And to see how he is so supportive of every team, every coach, every player, whether you have had a good season, a bad season, and we've all been through all of them, his support is always the same. He always has the kids' best interests. He will always stick up for the coaches and the community, and he always knows every stat of everything you can ever ask him. In closing, to me, the reason Tom belongs in this Hall of Fame is because of his unparalleled care and support for Lakeview coaches and athletes. He truly cares about all of them. He will always have our back, and he is just such a great person to be around. I'm lucky to call him a friend, and we'd like to say congratulations on being in the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Mike. People probably didn't know that I was born with a heart condition. I had spent 6 weeks on 2 different occasions before I was even 10 years old. They said you will never play basketball or football, but I guess the good Lord blessed me with a memory that I could remember stuff, stats. When Woodlake and Cottonwood decided to come together in 1991, people probably would say that wasn't going to work. But now as I look back 35 years ago, to see the facilities that are both schools the school that we have here, the 3 baseball fields, softball fields, 8-lane track, 3 gymnasiums, and every Friday night when I get to walk up that Crown Jewel turf football field and Mr. Lama's playing the Boys of Fall, that's something that puts a little tear in my eye. I received a letter this week from a couple people wasn't that really close. It said, not all sports heroes are on the court or the field. Well, every one of you people out here is a hero to me. I grew up in Woodlake. I had 2 younger brothers that knew how to play the game. 4 sisters that would have probably been playing ball. I'm sure they would have been, but girls' sports had started right after they left. My biggest hero was my mom. She lost her dad when she was 1 year old, graduated from college in 1947, or high school in 1947, landed a teaching job in Littlewood Lake in 1948. I still cannot figure out how anybody can graduate from high school and land a teaching job in a year and a half. She met my dad. Played ball. He played ball, was an athlete in the 40s, played town team baseball. He played town team baseball with 3 people that are in this room today. Harold Yanka, Raleigh Loveness, and Merle Fischer. I'm sure they had a few cocktails after the games. Town team baseball was something special. I want to thank my family sitting back there. I've had a great wife for 38 years. She's been my rock. I've had the best daughter that anybody could ever ask. And the son-in-law. I had also, a couple of my sisters are back there, Jan and Jill, their husbands, my sister-in-law, Carol. I had a grandson that was born with Down syndrome and a heart condition. He turned 5 yesterday. What that little kid has gone through is beyond me. There is nothing finer or happier that makes me when I can sit down and read with him. I know he'll never score a basket, make a touchdown, but that little guy, we love him. So again, I want to thank you. I'm honored and humbled to be up here today. I love every one of you. You're all my heroes. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Hinz. One more time, a big congratulations to the 2025 Lakeview Hall of Fame inductees. In honoring all of you today, we not only acknowledge your past achievements, but also express our gratitude for the enduring legacy you have left behind. Your names will forever be synonymous with greatness, and your stories will continue to inspire all of Laker Nation. And congratulations and welcome to the Hall of Fame. Thank you. Also, make sure that you go in the hallway.